Ukrainian servers, food continue to conquer European markets while Ukraine keeps talking about promoting right narratives in terms of sanctions against Russia and supporting Ukraine. Last year, in 2022, Ukraine's economy suffered the most significant losses, damages and destruction in the entire history of independence due to Russia's military aggression. Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Solutions from Ukraine podcast, which is brought to you by Rubryka. My name is Vladyslav Faraponov. I am the co-host of this podcast. And before we start, let me remind you that you can support us at patreon.com/Rubryka. After you join us at Patreon, you will be able to send us questions that we can address in the podcast, and you can also get our exclusive merch with solutions and Ukraine's map. Usually I present my co-host Anastasia at this point, but today it will be on my own. Today we will try to talk about solutions, but probably this is the time when we will talk about solutions that are most applicable for you, our listeners, especially our listeners around Ukraine. As I noted in the introduction, Ukraine's Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal said that according to some estimates, the drop in terms of economy last year was more than 30%. So more and more Ukrainian businesses are gradually appearing in European countries. So Ukrainian products and brands are becoming more recognizable and are becoming more convincing to the world that Ukrainians know how to do business, know how to get things done in terms of economy and stuff like that. And it is also a very important time for our businesses within Ukraine and also outside of Ukraine, because like we used to say in Ukraine that the war really defines basically what you do, where you do this. And in terms of promoting right narratives, also with the help of your own business, it is also very important. And it is, I would say, like one of the markers in Ukraine, like when business communities, business society meets on some meetings, they usually share their practices, how they promote pro-Ukrainian stuff abroad and how it differs from promoting it inside Ukraine. So let's talk more about solutions. And despite all the challenges and, of course, the risks in Ukraine, Ukrainian businesses turned out to be really, really resilient. During some business forums in Kyiv, the Deputy Economy Minister of Ukraine, Oleksiy Sobolev, he noted some optimistic statistics about the recovery of Ukrainian business. So last year, about 50% of businesses stopped their work. But as of April this year, almost 80% of those 50 basically have recovered. So in a year, Ukrainians opened 50,000 new enterprises, not to mention those that continued to operate and stayed on the market. So during 2023, 76% of entrepreneurs plan to expand their businesses, and some big players are even finding opportunities to scale it like internationally. Over the past year, the world has become convinced that Ukraine and Ukrainians are not about despair. It's about basically like they're about hope and solutions. So it also includes courage, it includes perseverance, it includes talent and especially hard work. And at Rubryka, we collected some stories of Ukrainian businesses that found their way to the world markets during the war and continue to grow, like showing that Ukraine is a country of practical solutions and development. Let me explain how it works exactly. So between 5 and 7 million Ukrainians left Ukraine last year. We don't know exactly how many have returned since that, but probably not much. And we reported about a survey that 30% of small and medium-sized businesses plan right now to export their goods or services abroad. And another 30% already work abroad. So at least they have the products to be shared abroad. And of course, it was expected that Poland, our neighbor and friend and ally, became one of the first countries where Ukrainian businesses began to expand because it is the closest to Ukraine. So the country received the most significant number of Ukrainians fleeing the war. And let's talk about some examples of businesses that have opened abroad since that time. The first example will be Lviv croissants. The first bakery was opened in Lviv 7 years ago. Now they have a network around Ukraine in 8 Ukrainian big cities. It is not surprising that for Ukrainians to continue to enjoy their favorite food, even in evacuation, Lviv croissants decided to expand their market and try to conquer the European market, and started with Poland. The company had tried to do that in 2018, and according to its founder, the company was not ready to enter the international market and made some mistakes at that time. Now, as they are entering the Polish market with a completely different approach, with a formed team, improved business standard, adapted menu and price policy, the company looks quite different than that, like it was before. They are clearly aware that there are still quite a few challenges ahead, but they have resources for effective work and development of their Polish network. The first cafe was opened at the Polish border, and 2 more are in Wrocław, and another 2 are in capital of Poland in Warsaw. Inside part did not change, and the food was adapted to the Polish market. It took 3 months to adjust the menu for the entire team, and now they are thinking about opening a new cafe in Gdansk and in the city of Gdynia. Another interesting example is Chernomorka. It is a Ukrainian restaurant, and its owner, Olga Kopylova, said that before the war she had no plans to open a restaurant abroad because in the pre-war year Chernomorka's businesses grew up by 100%. More than 40 fish restaurants of the chain basically welcomed visitors. And the plans for 2022 were no less important and also conquering. They plan to open around 30 more spots. And of course, the war basically forced them to scale up in Europe, and this path turned out to be quite complicated. In the Romanian city of Constanta, Chernomorka managed to work only for half a year. As the owner admits, the mistake was that they opened the same project as it was in Ukraine, but people in Romania are different. They love eating fish, but they prefer other recipes. However, and this particular experience was also quite valuable for them, and they understanding that they had to adapt to each project in the country is also a lesson for representatives of other businesses as well. The first cafe was opened in Warsaw, again in Poland, and the menu is quite similar, but just a bit adapted for Poles, which is no wonder important for for Polish people to understand the ingredients and others. This year, the restaurant decided to concentrate on Poland, on Bulgaria, Moldova, even the Czech Republic and Slovakia, and now they have opened already 5 restaurants in Poland and Moldova. Speaking about our businesses abroad, we cannot skip the Nova Poshta company, which means that Ukraine's largest post and retail company, Nova Poshta, had around 2,000 branches in cities with a population of over 1 million and regional centers, and another partner branches they also cooperated with. Due to Russians' attacks and occupation, they have lost 6 destroyed sorting terminals, 3 rope terminals, more than at least 100 have been destroyed, and of course not to mention people, and not to mention the fact that they were thinking about expanding their networks. And it is quite similar for me when we compare the losses of the Holocaust or of Holodomor in Ukraine, organized by the Soviet regime in 1932, when the vast majority of historians started to talk about not only the direct victims, but also about those who were not born. And speaking about the economy, in this case, I compare it to the losses and damages of the 2 terrible tragedies, the Holocaust and the Holodomor, because it's the same in my view. Like, we may talk about those profits that are unreachable right now, and people cannot count on those territories, on those economic opportunities, and it's horrible, but there are cases even of Nova Poshta. I can assure everyone that it works correctly in Ukraine and abroad, and it is quite a company in Ukraine, and every major big city cannot live like without it, because it's so popular, it's so friendly to its customers and others. Last spring, the company established cooperation with local post operators and launched a new service called Things from Home Abroad. It enabled sending a suitcase of a box of personal belongings to one of the European countries with 50 or 80% discounts. In October, Nova Poshta opened its first branch in the Polish capital in Warsaw, Krakow, Poznań, Wrocław, Lublin, and other major big cities in Poland. And the company says that by the end of June, so exactly when we are making this episode, there will be 50 shops of Nova Poshta in Poland. It's really impressive in terms of even the fact that the full-scale war arranged by Russia just started a year ago. They also continue their work and expand their operation to Vilnius, to Estonia, Latvia. They are thinking about Romania, Germany, and the Czech Republic. And so the thing is that it's not only about business, it's about people. And by creating this opportunity, they are trying to connect Ukraine with Europe as well. And also Europe, Europeans can send packages to Ukraine as well. And I personally can say that in Ukraine we use the services of Nova Poshta really almost every day. So their foreign branches are not so profitable for the company, of course, but they are counting on becoming kind of self-sufficient as soon as possible. And they are also thinking about a cargo airline called Supernova Airlines, and they are trying to do that, and during the wartime, of course, their air fleet will be based at one of the EU airports near Ukraine's border, and from there the cargo will be delivered to Ukraine. And despite the Russians' attacks and all efforts to also disrupt the economy, to make people leave the country, we see that more and more businesses are coming back, and more people are thinking about the fact that the war is not an excuse, and it is one of the major lessons in terms of people's dimension of economy and business. So you can find more episodes of our podcast at Rubryka.com or your favorite podcast provider. So Solutions from Ukraine, where we discuss problems and issues from Ukraine, and people are doing something about them. So stay with us, and remember to support us at patreon.com/Rubryka. Your support really matters to us, and it helps us produce more independent podcasting and reporting, which will result in more help for Ukraine to win this hard but important war.